All right. Live on a Friday evening. Welcome to Reactionary Opinions, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday, the 11th of September. Goodness me. It is September 11th. Surprising that we decided to name our show after this episode, South Africa is a living conspiracy on September 11th. But anyway, moving on. Welcome to the show. You might notice my environment is a little bit different today. I'm visiting my folks all the way in the Eastern Cape. So I've gone back to my agrarian roots, and it's beautiful and peaceful and quiet, and over here, and all of that stuff, over here, all that nice small town stuff. But it's lovely being home in my old hometown. Russell the Based, how you doing there, brother?
I'm doing good. Looking forward to sharing some. On the agenda today is we're going to be discussing various conspiracies or theoretical conspiracies going on in South Africa. And yeah, I think we're going to be outlandish tonight.
That's an interesting choice of words that you used over there, Russell. Theoretical conspiracies. Is this like the new way to say it's a conspiracy theory?
I don't know. I just came up with it now.
It's a way to dodge the censors, man.
So in other words, they can't go. I'm a theoretical conspiracy, not a conspiracy theory.
Brilliant. Mr. Patriarch, how are you doing on this fine evening?
Oh, doing good. Just got my lazy butt to do a little bit of exercise before the stream, so that was good. I'm trying to get that regular again. I have a nice beer here, and I was just trying to figure out some notes for my next episode of my fascism series. So I've been working on that. I just put out my video on the ideology of fascism, and next I'm going to either look at the economic structure or just kind of general life under the regime. So that will be coming hopefully next week. So that's what I've been up to.
Awesome.
Yes.
I look forward to that.
We really always look forward to Mr. Patriarch's videos on fascism, and yeah, we really enjoy them. They are very, very well made, and yeah, definitely go and check those out. Dylan, why don't you put a link to your video, put it in the comments over here so that folks can go and check it out.
Okay, yeah,
anyway, so on the topic of discussion this evening, now, here's the thing. South Africa is definitely a living conspiracy, okay? Because us as South Africans, I mean, you just need to just take a walk around, or just, chat with your group of friends or people that you know. And when you talk to these people, you will notice that a lot of what you are getting from these people, a lot of the information and the feedback and the ideas that you get from people that you know, whether it be people in your friend circle or people at work or whatever, a lot of the consensus and the narrative that you get from these people is totally different to what you see on the media and what you see in the political sphere. South Africa as a whole, I would say, is deeply conservative, yet our political sphere is extremely revolutionary and radical. And that is a pointer and a smoking gun to say that something's not right over here. Something is not lacquer. Because if these things, if you talk to someone and they say one thing, but what happens is different, you have to know there's something else going on over there. Would you guys agree with that, Russell?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, if you take, for instance, research done by institutions like the Institute for Race Relations as to what South Africans see as the pressing issues in the country, and you see what the politicians are chattering about in Parliament and buggering about with and just dragging their heels about, it's not the same thing, it's like it's a complete mismatch. It's like the politicians have their own game that they play, and the rest of the populace is kind of just swept aside.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. The political narrative. Now, if you think for 1 second that conspiracies don't exist, then you are pretty much the exact reason why conspiracies exist. Okay. If you think for one moment that governments and big corporates and billionaires and elites and globalists and stuff have your best interests at heart, then you are part of the conspiracy, my friend, and you are the reason why those conspiracies exist. Because these people and governments and stuff don't care about you. They don't care about you, and they are 100% conspiring against you and your family for whether it be for financial gains, whether it be for the exploitation of resources, yourself, even your family. They are out to exploit. And if you think for one moment that conspiracies don't even exist, then sorry, you're lost to me. Mr. Patriarch, what do you have to say about all of that?
I would agree. There's certainly, not just here in South Africa, certainly in the U.S. You see it really hard in the U.S. as far as the media, the corporate press conspiracy against the American people. So and this is a perfect year for it. There's just so much that you see in the media, which is either blatantly dishonest in framing, or dishonest in omission. So it's just at all levels. It's pretty outrageous. And a lot of these organizations, particularly newspapers, have been losing money for years. So, for instance, The Guardian, for example, made its first profit since like 1998 last year, and now it's losing money again. So you got to ask yourself, how can an enterprise like that go on for about 2 decades making losses? Well, the answer is quite easy, because The Guardian has a certain amount of cachet with a certain demographic, people who matter, for lack of a better term. And it is kept afloat through donations and contributions from its backers to act as a vehicle of propaganda, essentially. And I mean that, not necessarily propaganda can be good or bad, right? All propaganda is trying to convince people of your ideas, whatever they might be. But that's what's going on. And it just so happens that the agenda of The Guardian happens to be extremely anti-human, anti-nature, and anti-healthy civilization. And and it's getting funneled, millions of pounds or however much in order to stay afloat throughout these ideas. And just the same with all these other media organizations. Again, a lot of them operate through donors. And this happens on the other side too, on a much smaller scale. So, for example, you may or may not have heard of Taki Mag, TAKI magazine. It's an online publication, and it publishes a lot of sort of dissident right wingers and old paleocons and whatnot. And the only reason it exists is because there's a wealthy Greek benefactor who gives his money to keep the magazine afloat. So, and that's how all these organizations operate, more or less. You got to have the money talk, unfortunately. You can have the best ideas in the world, but, at the end of the day, cash is king. So that's how these organizations are able to propagate their ideas, is because people behind the scenes are funneling money to them. They do make money through advertising, but usually not enough. and the people who sort of make up the difference set the agenda, or they have a very strong voice in setting the agenda. So yeah, and as far as conspiracy goes, it's not just that. You don't have just a media conspiracy against the normies out there. I would say that, and it goes to the title for today, South Africa is a living conspiracy. It literally is. So if, I mean, this is probably common knowledge, this isn't, anything outrageous, but when the South African Republic was started, or I'm sorry, when the modern, let's call it the fourth dispensation or third dispensation of whatever it is of democratic South Africa was established, originally the biggest, most popular black or liberation movement in the country was Inkatha with the Zulus. It had incredible support compared to the ANC, but through, violence and various chicaneries in the People's War, they put themselves into a position so that they basically strong-armed themselves into being the only negotiator at the table. So what you had the National Party basically in talks only with the ANC by design and keeping the Inkatha Freedom Party and the Zulu contingent out of the talks. So you could say that was a conspiracy of the old elite with a new elite, and they had sort of selected it was going to be the ANC we're going to deal with and not the IFP. And then so, yeah, from the very beginning, that constructed the Constitution, and that constructed, sort of how the country is going to be ran. And that was with the ANC, and normal South Africans didn't have a voice in this. The most popular liberation movement in the country, the IFP, they didn't have a voice in it. So yeah, what is that except, elites making decisions on our behalf without, proper representation? It's a conspiracy.
Here's an interesting thing, Dylan. Did you know that up until the 90s, early 90s, late 90s, I can't remember, the 90s somewhere, the English-speaking press, all the English-speaking newspapers were owned by Anglo-American.
Yeah.
All of them.
So,
so they basically, what I'm saying is, there you go. There's another elite organization setting themselves up. They own the newspapers. They can control a narrative generally. And, I'm just putting that out there. And it's not that's not a conspiracy. That I'm just pointing you in the direction that, guys like the Oppenheimers essentially controlled the press in South Africa from the late 1950s all the way up to the early 1990s,
but Russell, it's definitely not a conspiracy theory. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, the people thought that the People's War was a conspiracy theory, but people still to this day don't believe. You tell them stories about the People's War, they still don't believe it. So that what you're saying is perfectly valid because, but Dylan, you're talking about these wealthy donors for newspapers and stuff that happens all over the world and all of that. But it's only government that conspires to do that, Dylan. Private organization and the free markets doesn't do anything like that. Russell, do you mind not chowing and stuff? Sorry, It's like hitting on your mic and making noise. So, but Dylan, free market and corporates, they don't do that. It's only governments that conspire against citizens. I mean, we know that.
Well, hate to break it to you, Scott, but that's not always the case. And that was actually one of my one of the main reasons why I more or less gave up on libertarianism is because unfortunately, what did I say? It was power exists, and where you have money, you have power, and power doesn't want a free society. Period.
Yeah.
So the people who do, the oligarchs, let's call them, the billionaires and whatnot, the mega corporations and whatnot, they are invested in the status quo. And in fact, they make probably most of their money in a true free market they wouldn't be nearly as large as they are. They benefit from cozy government relationships. They benefit from having regulation, which makes it difficult for competitors to come on the scene. And if you were to, they are some of the people who have the most to lose if you were able to wither away the state. So,
Yeah.
but the
Dylan,
problem
can I
is,
just stop you there for 1 second? Russell, just check your phone. I just sent you a message. Just check your phone. Sorry, Dylan. Carry on.
go on. No, it's no problem. So yeah, that's just basically it. So what ends up happening is people with money craft the narrative for the masses. Unfortunately, most people are NPCs and they'll believe what they're told. And so we'll always have rulers and and people with billions of dollars will, see to it that that's always the case. So it's the way of the world. It's not good or bad. It's just sort of how people are at this point. It's so ideally, I would like, a much smaller or non-existent state, but unfortunately that's just not going to happen.
Well, the reality of it is that democracy is a farce, and it's not the people that choose the governments. It's the people controlling the narratives that choose the governments. So it's billionaires, media houses, and all of that choose the governments. So let's not kid ourselves over here, guys. That's the reality, and that's not even a conspiracy theory. I just want to jump into the comments section quickly, guys. So Robin McLaren says hi. He's literally in this next room over there. And he's watching our stream. That's classic. Eleutheria says, evening, gentlemen. Hi, Beth. How's it going? Welcome. Citizen Guardian. Good to have you here, brother. And oh, gosh, here we go. Rehan Naidu has decided to show up. Oh, Lord. This is going to be an interesting stream over here. Rehan Naidu says, stop taking jabs at the severely deformed Semite. Yes, bro, you. So anyway, but he has a good comment that he says over here. But the notion of a totally free market is completely fallacious. Yes, absolutely, completely fallacious. Yanni says, hey, peeps, how's it going? Yanni, good to have you here. Beth says, fantastic, thanks. Missed you guys. Yeah, I must just let you guys know for our viewers that last week I was on course. And my mother flew down to Cape Town to visit. So we were kind of busy, and we drove up to the Eastern Cape now. And myself, my wife, and my 6.5-month-old baby girl in the car, which was quite a thing. And we've been spending some quality time with the family, and we decided on a limb to do a stream this evening. So don't worry, folks. We will be back in full swing very, very soon. I just thought it would be nice to go and visit the family and everyone. But yeah, anyway, let's jump into this conspiracy stuff. Something that's so blatantly obvious, and also, again, another smoking gun for a conspiracy. And again, if you don't see this and don't understand this, then you are part of the problem. So here's the thing. BLM, the EFF, all of these oaks are absolute false flags. Okay, a false flag is also a smoking gun for a conspiracy theory as well. Now, for example, so BLM, Black Lives Matter, they are black people are supposedly the most oppressed people in America. They are being oppressed and systematically oppressed by white people in America, and they deserve to, run around breaking things and having white people defend their honor and all of that sort of stuff. Okay. Now, here's the thing. If you are being oppressed all the time, why do you need specific triggers to trigger outrage? Why do you need specific events to trigger this outrage? Shouldn't the outrage be there because you're being constantly oppressed? Why do you need some guy to be choked out and die on the side of the road? Why do you need some hands up, don't shoot guy that gets shot by the cops? Why do you need these single events to trigger these things? Why? I would say possibly, maybe, on the slight chance, perhaps they're not actually oppressed and they need something to manufacture so that it looks like they're oppressed. I would say maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe they are being systemically oppressed in the US. I don't know. But that's the thing is, why is it that these oppressed people need specific events to trigger the outrage? Shouldn't the outrage just be there all the time because they're constantly oppressed? I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Russell, you want to go, man? I'm gathering my thoughts.
I mean, I don't see the BLM sort of situation as that much of a sort of a conspiracy. Well, it's a bad conspiracy because it's just so obvious. It's not a very good conspiracy. It's not something that is, because it doesn't hold when it can't hold up to reasonable interrogation. You know what I mean? So it's a very bad conspiracy if it is one. Usually a good conspiracy holds up to reasonable sort of interrogation. You know what I mean? Or there's enough sort of casting of doubt to kind of keep the idea alive. Or there's enough. There's no, I mean, BLM, for instance, there's just nothing that can sort of give it any credibility. Actually,
okay. So
besides the fact that people say it's credible, but there's no real underlying credibility.
Every single media house in the United States, apart from a very small minority, definitely swears by by BLM's credibility.
They do, but unfortunately, what I'm saying is that narrative, the narrative of BLM is not a one-way street anymore. It was for like a week or two after. Then, when the evidence started coming out, it's now backtracked. You know what I mean? There's actually a major backtracking. If you take what's going on, more and more sportsmen didn't kneel. In the beginning, everybody was kneeling. You get what I'm saying? In other words, the narrative failed.
Yeah. Okay. Look, it was definitely a conspiracy in my mind. Definitely, no doubt.
It was a bad one. It wasn't a good one.
It was very poorly set up. Okay, but like Rehan says over here, it's obvious to you. Okay, but not to most. You can literally get fired or lose out on employment opportunities for not supporting BLM or for supporting ALM, which is All Lives Matter. Most people genuinely believe it. And I wouldn't say that most people genuinely believe it, but that is the narrative that's pushed by the media. That means, in my mind, that they are pushing a conspiracy.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm getting at is, longer the thing has gone on, it's found less and less support. It's not like it's in the beginning, the first couple of weeks, it had pretty much a strong support, and then as the whole thing unfolded, it received less and less support. A good conspiracy will hold water a bit longer than a matter of months. It will hold water for a few years.
Yes, I agree 100%. Okay, so let's move from BLM into the EFF. Russell had a very interesting theoretical conspiracy that that he mentioned earlier on when we were talking. You want to just fill in the viewers on that, Russell?
Yeah, how's this for not a conspiracy theory, but a theoretical conspiracy? Let's change. The Marxists are good at language, so we must also be good at language. So I was thinking to myself, how's this for a conspiracy? A bit outlandish. Clicks is a high-level, basically black company, right? It's got more it's got BE credentials coming out of its ears. All right, it obeys the government to the T when it comes to those regulations. Okay, you've got the media in South Africa who love a good hyped up story. You've got a ruling party in South Africa that's struggling to keep its head above water with regards to maintaining its legitimacy, and you've got a radical group of Marxist revolutionaries who will jump at anything. Okay, so this is my theory. All right, that you never know, and it sounds outlandish, I know, but let's be outlandish. All right, government and cliques conspire together to release that ad. All right, or to put it out there, or to promote it, put it that way. Okay, then they know they get the reaction from the EFF, which sparks everything, and there you go. Then the media runs interference for the government, and the government can kind of like put a major diversion away from them to try and get the media off their case with regards to all the nonsense that's going down within their own ranks. And then they can basically go back to the old racism is a problem in South Africa narrative, which they need to keep going at least until next year's. Next year we're only a few months away from an election. Okay, it's local government elections, but expect these sorts of things to be.
Postpone that though?
No, they haven't actually, not officially. So you're going to see a lot of these. You're going to see a lot of these things floated out there in the coming months. I can basically, you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar on it. Look, that's an outlandish conspiracy. That's to the nth degree conspiracy. It's probably not like that, but there's probably some areas of what I said are probably true.
Yeah, so I
can
think
see that.
Sorry,
the thing I'm thinking about this conspiracy, though, I'm just wondering, like, what's Clix' grift on this? Like, how do they benefit from this? That's the only thing, because I can understand how the ANC would be like, oh sweet, an instance of quote racism. Let's make this international news for the next 2 months. Yes, that's clearly to their benefit. It's also on the EFF's in their interest to sort of hop on this and try to make it up a big deal, and how they're the ones who stand up to the white devils at Clix and their disrespect for black people and whatnot. But I'm just wondering, like, what's Clix angle in all this? That's the thing.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that the EFF and ANC are in collusion as well. That's another part of the collusion and the conspiracy, because they basically definitely run each other's plays. So I would love to have an opposition party like that I can use as my interference, as my battering ram type of thing. It's flipping them. The EFF is the ANC's gift from heaven, and it's just too convenient. It's far too convenient.
So Dylan,
that's the biggest part of it. That's the biggest part of the conspiracy.
Yeah. So with regards to your question, who stands? How does Clix stand to benefit? It's got nothing to do with Clix as a company and all the 20,000 employees or whatever that they employ. Okay, it's got nothing to do with that. It's the board of directors and the main guys sitting at the top. They're the ones that stand to benefit. Because let's face it, guys. I mean, an advert like that, any marketer, any person in advertising who has been briefed every single day of their lives about what is politically correct and what is politically incorrect, okay, would be well briefed on what is bad, what is not to be put on show, and what should be.
It seems ham-fisted even to me.
So
I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm just I know how people are going to see this.
Yeah, so they're well aware of it. Okay, but here's the thing. Now, that advert, there's no chance that advert is just made by some guy sitting by his computer and he just sort of like uploads it to the internet and then it's there. It's not how it works. It goes through a string of people and is probably signed off by some guy sitting at the top. Okay, it probably has to be signed off by that guy. Okay. And I honestly believe it's got nothing to do with Clicks as a corporation. It's the big oaks at the top, the cadres. Maybe there's a couple of cadres at the top that, are more worried about pushing the political agenda than they are about running a company. And you know how it works in the ANC is that, there's 1 or 2 seats at the top and everyone wants to fight for those seats at the top. And this is where I think it Clicks would stand to benefit. So Rihan Naidu over here, this strange guy, says Clicks executives could stand to benefit enormously, and it's not as if they care about the well-being of their stores or lower level employees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. This is the whole thing, is they don't care. The executives and the oaks at the top, let's face it, guys, corporate South Africa is a joke. It's an absolute joke. They don't care about the guys that are actually doing the work, the guys at the bottom and stuff. They care more about, but guys, free market and the private sector, guys, and all that. It's all nonsense. They're all in cahoots and stuff. So I just want to, before we broaden on this, I just want to jump into the comments section over here, guys, if you don't mind. They are very, very busy. Ronnie sent us a Bible verse. How's it, Ronnie? It says Luke 10, verse 27. It says, so he answered and said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as well. Yes, agree 100%. So let's jump into a couple of questions over here. Dagbrekers, yeah? How's it, Dagbreker? Good to have you here. He says, hey, gents, I tend to agree with Russell's conspiracy. I've been... Oh, we got a couple of conspiracy, theoretical conspiracy.
Theoretical conspiracy scholars.
Theoretical conspiracy enthusiasts.
Yeah, enthusiasts. Yeah, it says over here. I've been topping about the thought when people say, "When will the Burki / right wing react? They want to push a narrative." I don't know what to say about that, but yeah, I think there's definitely a narrative being pushed. What does Yanni say? He says, if this was an issue for the ANC, the president would have addressed this early this week on Zoom, but he didn't. So to me, it's like they are colluding. Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, it's an interesting observation there. Yanni. RJJ says the EFF does the Overton window pushing for the ANC. Yep, pretty much. Dagbreker, here we go. Here's a question over here, or a comment. It is way too convenient. The last time we reacted, we ended up in a Sharpeville scenario. Same why Trump held back for so long. Stand fast. Dutch opruimt staat netjies. It says over here, so why would the senior, Yanni asks, so why would the senior exec from Clicks resign and leave SA? Did he resign and left?
I know he did resign. I know I think he did resign. I think that the guy did resign.
SA, though. Did he leave SA? I didn't hear about that.
I don't know about that.
I remember seeing him on thing, and he did mention that or I remember reading somewhere that he resigned, but I don't remember him leaving SA. Interesting. I'll have to look that up, Yanni. Thanks for letting me know. Again, like I mentioned, I've been a little bit out of touch with a whole bunch of stuff because been spending some quality time with family. Anyway, so that's a good conspiracy. I like the idea that, but here's the thing: is what is definitely not a conspiracy is the fact that the ANC and the EFF are definitely, no doubt about it, in cahoots, and they are, the EFF is 100% controlled opposition, and they are the strong arm of. Is that a dog barking, Russell? Did you get yourself a dog?
No, it's a blooming neighbor's dog. Sorry, I'll.
That's it's loud. Anyway, yeah. So conspiracies and stuff. I get a little bit frustrated with people when they just the whole tinfoil hat wearing kind of thing. Look, I mean, we're not coming with bizarre conspiracies like aliens live among us. Yeah, lizard men and aliens live amongst us and all these kind of strange things and stuff. I mean, look, if that sort of tickles your fancy, then fine. But that's not weird. That's not what we are. What we're talking about. We're talking about a lot of things that were considered to be outrageous and massive conspiracy theories, 10 years ago, are common fact at this stage. They've graduated from conspiracy theories to conspiracy fact. Hey, Russell. But yeah. So Joe Emilio just joined. How's it, Joe? Good to have you here. Good to have you. Sorry, we've been a bit out of touch, and I haven't even been watching YouTube videos lately, guys. I've been very, very bad. I've been on kind of like an internet detox. I did serve my 30-day ban on Facebook. But those of you that are looking to follow me on my other account, my Boniface Axeman account, you can go and check it out. It's based and a lot of hardcore stuff going on over there. RJJ says, EFF and ANC have the same spear in their logo. Oh, do they? Interesting. Didn't know that. Yeah, there you go. Yanni says, if you buy the dog, your neighbor's dog, then it will be your dog barking. So Joe Emilio says, I'm here to ask if you all want to be on my show because you don't reply to emails. Joe, hang on. Let me check our email over here. I don't think I've received an email from you. Do check my emails, Joe. I didn't receive an email. Did I? I look like an absolute fool if I did. No, I didn't. Don't talk nonsense. And the answer is no, we will not come on your show. No, I'm kidding, Joe. Of course we
also
will.
A joke.
You don't need anybody.
I can also be.
That would actually be a lot of fun. I would enjoy that.
Yeah, I'd like to come on your show, Joe. What we'll do is we'll have to do it. It'll have to be when I'm back in Cape Town, which is in the next sort of week or two. And then I'll have to be drinking some whiskey and all of that, so I can get myself nice and lubed up, and we can crack some jokes. Anyway, should we jump back into these conspiracy theories or conspiracy facts? Russell, I know that you know quite a few good, juicy conspiracy theories that used to be theories and are now facts. South African ones, actually.
I'm trying to think of some right now. I think I'm trying to come up with a few.
I know a number in the US. There's a lot.
Oh yes,
yeah. The US are big.
The US is like a minefield of conspiracy theories. It's great.
Oh, yeah. And the crazy thing is just like how many of them have been declassified from the Freedom of Information Act, and they're just like facts now.
Yeah,
that's absurd.
And you know, like a lot of the times, like I wonder how many people just got lambasted with you're just a conspiracy theorist, or put your tinfoil hat back in the drawer, or whatever it is, and now they have like absolute fact.
It's like MK Ultra, you know.
MK Ultra. That's fun. If you guys don't know about MK Ultra, Google that shit. It's crazy.
What was the British version of that? There was a British one as well, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Sure, there was, man. Or
was
that?
But one of the most important ones in more recent times was the Gulf of Tonkin incident, And what that was apparently American naval vessels in the Gulf of Tonkin in Vietnam in 1964 were attacked by the North Vietnamese, and this was, of course, cause for reason to escalate U.S. Military involvement in Vietnam and go from sending advisors to actual boots on the ground. Only thing is that decades later, when this is all declassified, it turns out that this was all just bullshit. So the federal government made up a story to justify increasing military presence in Vietnam. There's also another one called Operation Northwoods. And this actually went through, this was another Cold War one. This was another one where it actually was approved by basically everyone, like the chiefs of staff. And what it was it was a plan to have a U.S. airliner shot down by the United States military, pin it on the Cubans, and then use it as a pretext to invade Cuba. But the reason it didn't happen, the only reason it didn't happen is because John F. Kennedy, he's like, I may be crazy and be doing blow in the back room in my free time, but even I know this is a terrible idea, so I'm not going to do it, guys. Sorry. Has anyone seen Marilyn Monroe? So that didn't end up happening. But there's all kinds of things like this. So Operation Northwoods, that was one. Gulf of Tonkin, that was another one. Let's do another, like a British and American one. The Lusitania. So for those of you who don't know, in the first
I know about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, you wanna hit him with that one, Russell?
Yeah, the Lusitania was what was it? There was a vessel, a supply vessel. Hey, no, it was a passenger vessel or a supply vessel. Passenger vessel. Yeah, that was so-called torpedoed by the Germans in World War I to get the Americans into the war, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yeah. So what happened with that is, it was a passenger liner. I think it was British, but it was a British vessel, but it had a lot of Americans on board for transatlantic, travel, as you do. And what happened was it was torpedoed by the Germans, and the British government and the American government are like, oh, the Hun is out for blood. He doesn't respect, civilians on the high seas. This was just a passenger vessel. Well, it turns out decades later, and I think this was only like fairly recently, the British government was actually like, we're actually using this passenger vessel to run munitions to the U.S. Because under maritime law at the time, if a vessel was moving war materials and whatnot, it could be targeted. But if it was, just a non-combatant, just moving people, then you couldn't, right? So that was a lie that was used as
that must have been some pretty good intelligence work from the Germans to know that was a munition ship. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and it was, but the British government lied about it for decades, and the American government was like, perfect opportunity. Old Woodrow Wilson was very happy to be like, all right, this is our chance to get at the Hun. So
yeah, it's also another American conspiracy. Another American conspiracy, Dylan, was the so-called lone gunman involvement with the John F. Kennedy story. You know what I mean? For decades, it was believed that it was a lone gunman. But now it's like generally out there that there wasn't just one single gunman. In the setup. It's not denied at all. You know what I mean? The idea of a lone gunman always is an issue.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things about that, and I haven't looked in the JFK one so much myself, but just the ones I know that have been confirmed, where the federal government doesn't even deny them anymore, and they're matters of public record. It's just it's kind of eye popping, or the the Iran Contra scandal in the 80s. That was sort of a big one. And, half the shit the CIA gets up to is pretty loopy.
Yeah, that's the thing is, if you, again, and there's people out there that actually believe that there's no such, that governments don't conspire against civilians and stuff. It's the most bizarre thing anywhere ever. So Joe says he will email us. Yeah, Joe. I think you live in Cape Town. I'll give you my cell phone number. Just message me on Facebook and I'll send you my cell phone number. And then just send me your cell phone, or send me a message on Facebook Messenger, and I'll send you my cell phone number. I think it would be probably better if you should just come by my house, and then we'll do a live stream. We'll just do a live stream from the show. I think that'll be better. What do you think, Joe? If you're still listening. So Rehan says USS Liberty. I don't know if you guys know about it's like I know exactly why. Why I said that. Anyway,
I know that one. We're not going to talk about that one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was basically a ship that was attacked by Israel. That's why he's talking about it. But anyway, yes, Sulan. So it says over here for a conspiracy that isn't actually a conspiracy. The UN is linked with Luciferians. Look up Lucis Foundation. Yeah, I have no doubt at all in any way, shape, or form that the United Nations is Luciferian and has all kinds of weird ideas. Extreme.
No, they're as wicked as hell.
Wicked.
They're a wicked organization.
So while we're on here, I want to just show you guys over here another something that will come out eventually as a conspiracy is obviously the biggest conspiracy that's going on now. That will probably go down as the biggest conspiracy in the history of mankind, which is the COVID story. Okay, and obviously the United Nations and the World Health Organization are, massively behind this, and they are the ones that, push this in every way, shape, and form. And I want to show you guys it's the most bizarre thing, an actual tweet. I just want to get to it. This is quite sickening and quite disturbing, and a lot of people, ask, like, is this real and stuff? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't it be real? But I just want to find the tweet. Sorry. I had it just somewhere. Where is it? Come on. Oh, gosh, don't tell me I'm not going to find it now. So annoying.
Boomer tech.
Hey?
I was just making a joke. I was just filling the air. I just said boomer tech.
Boomer tech, yeah, definitely. I don't know why I can't find this now. There we go.
I could play some 90s alt rock while we wait.
Yeah, play some 90s alt rock there, Dylan, while we wait. I definitely want to find this.
Get your guitar out, Dylan.
Oh man, I won't subject the audience to that. Not yet, no. But speaking of other conspiracies, it's really interesting to me with this whole COVID-19 lockdown and stuff. Just the way international governments have reacted to it and are continuing to react to it. So I can understand sort of initially how, like with the 3-week lockdown, you would when you're not exactly sure what you're dealing with, you're like, is this going to be the flu or the bubonic plague? We don't know. Let's lock down for a few weeks and find out. But now with the death rates continuing to drop, even with more spikes, like in the US, they're like, oh, the US is having a second wave, but the death rate continues to decline. So, or here in the Western Cape, like the ICU hospital bed capacity is, huge. It's been escalated, and now these wards are sitting empty because nobody's dying, or the people who are getting the disease are mostly staying home. So hospitalizations and death rates are declined. Yet this lockdown persists. It continues. And we have had, we've opened things up enough so that it's fair. It's a lot closer to normal than it was, in April. But still, like the resistance to sort of going back to normal and going on with these things is very odd. And I'm just wondering, to what end do these sorts of things persist? And, with Boris Johnson, hello?
Yeah, no, carry on, Brew. I'm just sharing the screen.
Sorry.
Carry on.
Okay, I just wasn't sure.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, and with Boris Johnson, threatening to shut down Christmas and whatnot in the UK, it's just ridiculous.
So
another thing, Dylan? Another thing I was wondering about in the South African context, it seems like the South African government is basically running as a guinea pig for the World Health Organization. We do whatever they say, regardless. You know what I mean? There were talks about a month or two ago how World Health Organization officials and experts flew into South Africa to consult with the South African government and all this sort of thing. And I'm just wondering, all this nonsense with the World Health Organization. Another conspiracy that's out there, which I don't buy, is the excess deaths situation. All right. All of a sudden, Home Affairs, who reports deaths in South Africa, and what is official deaths from prior years, or actually just last year, they're comparing as a baseline to this year, and there's these excess deaths over May, June, and July, and they are quite, although they don't say it explicitly because they can't as scientists, but they definitely imply that these deaths are associated with COVID-19, and you've had all the big major guys, the South African Medical Research Council, come out. I read an article today that Discovery Health has basically said that they think it's attributable, but there's gaping holes in that theory, because you're telling me that there's these excess deaths. How many people every year die without going into hospital? We had hospital capacity available. Why didn't they go? You know what I mean? Did they die at home? Have people ever died like this at home before? I fail to actually see how they can attribute all those deaths to, or suddenly it could be just be a bad year for overall deaths in the country. You know what I mean? There's no way of attributing that to COVID-19. Call me a skeptic, but that's just the way I see it. I had massive run-ins with people again this week on Facebook discussion about it, where I was basically drummed out of town for my views, saying I'm unscientific and everything. But these are the questions I was asking, and they said it's impossible for that to be like that. But anyway, that's just my feeling.
But Russell, here's the thing: is with regards to this whole COVID story, the deaths and stuff, that I just don't trust them. I'm sorry, because there's been proof that these deaths, some like people dying in car accidents, labeled COVID-19 death, whatever it is. So I don't buy it. I mean, you'd have to be a blithering idiot to think that the death rate is quite what it is at the moment. It's not. Okay, it's absolute insanity. But the point is that they're now shifting gears. Okay, so now I don't watch myself. I don't watch mainstream media. I don't watch Sky News. I don't watch RT. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch any of that. Okay, what I do, but now being in the Eastern Cape and visiting my folks, they have that Lady ENCA on all day. Okay, just on the TV. That's what's on the TV all the time is the news, and it's literally everything you see. Everything constantly is COVID-19 vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, death rate from COVID vaccine, this much increase in cases, vaccine. This thing, vaccine. This thing, vaccine. Vaccine, 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 vaccine. Almost as if people are sort of sitting there just waiting for these amazing doctors to come up with this COVID vaccine and stuff, which is utter nonsense. No one cares about it anymore. It's just the media is beating on the same drum over and over and over again, saying the same cuck. And when you see tweets like this by the United Nations, it says, the COVID-19 pandemic is demonstrating what we all know. Millennia of patriarchy have resulted in male-dominated world in a male-dominated world with a male-dominated culture which damages everyone, women, men, girls, and boys. I mean, for God's sakes, really now. And people out there still think that this is about a virus. Just give it up. Just stop. Just live your lives, people. Stop hiding in fear of these things. Now, part of the reason why I didn't why I took a break as well is I went into hospital for a very minor surgery, and I went into hospital, and the main thing is that I think the hospitals, the nursing staff, the doctors, the physicians, the anesthetists, and everything, they're just going through the motions. I've spoken to my daughter's pediatrician, and he's told me that out of the doctors that he works with, they are all over this thing. They've realized now it's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense. Okay, but unfortunately, the board of directors, again, the oak sitting at the top, have to ensure that these people just go through the motions. So they go through the motions. I mean, when I went there, I arrived at the hospital at 11 o'clock in the morning. I was admitted in the hospital. I did a COVID test right there. And the lady that did the COVID test, and the lovely lady, she was kind of like, you could tell that she was just going through the motions. She was like, listen, what is this? What is that? Blah, blah, blah. Just going through the motions. And I chatted to a couple of doctors and nurses while I was in hospital, and they said, it's not the doctors and the nurses. The doctors and the nurses are over this. It's the people that are too scared to come to hospital. That's the thing. Like, the general populace some of the general populace are still so petrified of this virus that they stay at home and all of that, and they'd rather die of cancer than go to hospital. And it's quite strange.
Ridiculous. It's sad.
Yeah.
That must be the excess deaths then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're definitely COVID related, but related in a different way. I just want to get to the comment.
They're not COVID deaths, they are lockdown deaths.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get to this comment section. Joe says, sure, sounds good, but in case you don't know, I might bring a 1.1 kg steak along with me. Bring it, bro. I've got a nice big braai room. You can lekker braai, proper braai. So don't worry, I can handle it. Citizen Guardian says, regarding the UN, look up a peacekeeper sex assault on people they're supposed to be protecting. Gosh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's big. United Nations is big involved in sex trafficking as well. That's a well-known thing as well. That's not a conspiracy. That's not even a conspiracy. That's a fact.
Yeah, so this is the thing is also, I mean, people will look at the UN as some sort of, bastion of authority and stuff, but they're it's the most bizarre thing anyway. But Rihan says the 3-week lockdown made no sense because there was an unrestricted spread of COVID for 3 months prior. That's true. I mean, how would you know that COVID wasn't already in South Africa before the 3-week lockdown? If it was even fractionally as dangerous as they said, we'd have seen bodies on the streets. Yeah, I remember seeing like a video that was circulating on social media in China or something, or literally bodies on the streets and stuff. And That's what the media outlets were punting, just people dying and stuff. Rian says, any excess deaths are far more likely due to lockdown measures than COVID. 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, they're lockdown deaths. They're not COVID deaths.
Yes, the long-term impact that this lockdown is going to have on people's mental health, physical health, and all of that far exceeds a pandemic. Far exceeds it. So anyway, well, has anyone here lost anyone close to them due to COVID-19? Anyone? Okay, so someone I know very close to me who happens to be a diabetic had COVID and has just recently been given a clean bill of health. So, and age 65. So yeah, you have to be pretty.
I don't know a single person in South Africa that is like in my general social sphere here in my neighborhood and generally around me and people from church and what have you. I know no one that's even had it, let alone died from it.
I know a few people that have had it, one or two, just a few, but again, they all just said it's flu. Michael McLaren, how's it going there, brother? He says, I agree with Russell there. Good to have you. Thanks for listening, Mike. Rian says, poor lifestyle, lack of vitamin D, bad nutrition, no physical activity, stress, mental health, unemployment, etc. Are you describing yourself there, Rian? I don't know. Sounds like it. But it says, of course, those factors can kill people. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I know a number of people who have got it. Actually, the guy who was in charge of our sort of ran our Bible study, he got it, but he got better. Basically, it was the same sort of symptoms. He had a little bit he ended up having to go to the hospital because of low oxygen, but then he got better and whatnot. Now he's back at it. I do know a couple of people, or know of a couple of people who died on the in and around Mitchell's Plain, but I believe they had some fairly serious pre-existing conditions. So like, bad like diabetes and obesity, things like that. I believe. I'm not any expert on their stuff, but yeah, I only know a couple. I know a few people who have gotten it, and only a couple of people who died from it. And I only think one of them actually died from it. I think the other one might have died from unrelated causes. But there's been a few people. But yeah, just if you look at your Rolodex, as far as like people close to me and whatever, no, I think one of our family friends, their pastor died from it. But again, that's about the only person I can think of. So yeah, it's not exactly, it's a tragedy, but it's not exactly the what you would call the Black Death or anything like that. It ain't even Ebola. It's not good, but and again, these were fairly elderly men with pre-existing conditions. So I mean, and that's the demographic. I mean, people like us, we'd be fine. So
RJJ says, Citizen Guardian, my cousin's ex-wife's kid's teacher's granny was very sick. So don't you dare call it a conspiracy. Yeah, this is the thing. And Rian says, it's simply not dangerous to anyone who isn't already on death's door. And this is the thing. It's and everyone that I've spoken to that's had it, like, look, I mean, I think what might make it dangerous. So say for example, if I had to get flu now, I mean, I haven't had flu in probably 10 years. So I've clean forgotten how harsh flu actually can be. And I've forgotten what it actually feels like to have flu. I haven't had flu in so long. So I think that might be a bit of a shock to the system. Like you might be like, "Yeesh, like I'm really sick," but that's what flu in general does. So I don't know. I just don't think it's as dangerous as anyone says. Citizen Guardian says, OMG, you guys, last conspiracy from me. Google Nitro Zeus. Nitro Zeus.
Nitro Zeus?
Yeah, what is it?
Sounds like a
Anyone
hard
know?
drug. You got some of that
sounds like-
nitro Zeus, man.
You got some of that nitro Zeus. Let me just Google this. Wait.
Nitro Zeus, bruh.
Zeus.
Nitro Zeus. What the hell is that? Project name for a well-funded comprehensive cyber attack plan created as a
Yeah.
multi-mitigation strategy. Oh.
After the Stuxnet malware campaign and its aftermath. I don't know what the heck that is. No idea.
That's beyond me. It's IT stuff. I don't want to get involved with that.
Joe Emilio, good question, bro. Why is Russell in portrait mode? I don't know. Are you on your phone?
The reason why I'm in portrait mode is because I am on my phone.
You're supposed to put it sideways.
Yeah, well, there is a reason why. If you really need to have it like that, let's do it then. Let's see here.
There we go. People want to see that awesome painting behind you, Russell. That's the thing.
I've got to do a little bit more.
It's the
people
colors
really need me. If people really have to have it like this, let me just sort this lot out here. If people really must have it.
Okay. So Dagbreker says, I have He says, I have 2 family members that got it. They were locked up for 3 weeks, recovered. One went back and was tested positive again. Turns out your T cells still carry the markers to fend the virus off, hence positive. Interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, how old were the family members, Dagbreker? Were they elderly or young, or what's the story? Yeah, because that's I mean, the idea. What also frustrates me is, again, like I said, I mean, Dylan probably is the same thing. Russell, I know, is definitely the same thing. I don't put my TV on ENCA or, I guarantee if you go to my parents in their lounge, which is just across the way over here, I guarantee you there's ENCA or CNN or Sky News or something playing over there. But I don't watch that. And they'll say, like, I was watching a thing now where they say there's a surge now in India. And instead of, I mean, they say that the article runs like major surge of COVID-19 infections in India, blah, blah, blah. And they show like visuals of like ambulances and like hospitals and all of that. Not one person that I know that has had this has been sent to hospital, including that 60-plus-year-old man with diabetes. Not one of them has been sent to the hospital. Like, why make this a major, like, everyone, you get COVID, you're going to hospital. Like, that's not how it works. So Dagbreker says 30s. So I assume they just sort of rested up at home, maybe took some hydroxychloroquine and got better.
Hydroxychloroquine and zinc, eh? Don't forget.
Yeah. Apparently hydroxychloroquine is available over the counter in South Africa. Is it? I didn't know that. I remember seeing it somewhere.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
They gave that to the guy, or my Bible study leader, when he was in hospital, hydroxychloroquine. So Trump was right, I guess.
No, apparently that hydroxychloroquine does work. It's just about the getting the treatment at the right time, and it actually does work, apparently.
So Citizen Guardian says over here, so quick explanation of Nitro Zeus. Basically, the world has been at cyber warfare for the last 15 years. The nice thing to cyber warfare is you can hide where attacks are coming from. Yeah, look, I don't know much about the cyber world and stuff, but I will tell you, at this point in time, cyber security or internet security is like one of the biggest booming industries at this point in time, because that's where it's pretty much another battlefield. So that's an interesting point there, Nitro Zeus. I'd like to read up about that. Citizen Guardian. I have to chat to some of my IT buddies. They'd probably know what that is. I have no clue what it is. Anyway, guys, are we ready? Just about ready to wrap up, eh? Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm 10 subscribers away from breaking 100 on my channel. If you haven't subbed, please put me over the top.
Yeah,
Yeah, come on, sub to his channel. He's running a great series at the moment on fascism, which will illuminate everything that you've ever wanted to know about the subject, and stand you in good stead for the future. So go over there and subscribe now.
Yes, Mr. Patriarch. I gotta break 100. I gotta break 100 before I hit month 4 of my channel. Otherwise, I'll feel bad.
Do it, and subscribe, guys. And then talking about subscriptions, remember to like this video. Please like the video, and I think everyone that's listening now is subscribed. But share the videos, share our content and stuff, and
yes,
get us out there. Get us out there. Check Rehan says over here, already subscribed to Dylan out of pity. Yes,
thank you so much. Thank you.
Your pity is appreciated.
I'm a simp for subs. I'm a simp for subs.
There you go, Dylan. Only 9 to go now.
9 to go.
There we go.
There we go.
So Rehan says over here, he says it's nothing to do with COVID and everything to do with establishing the precedent that the state controls you completely if they deem you a threat to public health. Yeah, pretty much. The whole masks thing is also a pile of crap as well. I mean, jeez. I get so frustrated because I get into my car and I drive to the shops or whatever, and I realize when I'm at the shops, oh crap, I don't have my mask, because I don't allow it to become part of me. I don't,
That's why I keep a mask up. I've got an extra mask that I just keep in the car for those circumstances.
Yeah,
that's the only place I
also do pretty much, in my car. But that particular day, I had taken them out and stuff. But anyway, Citizen Guardian said, "May I send you a video after this, Scott?" Yeah, of course, bro. Send it to me. I'd like to see. Rehan says they are establishing this power now to use later when squashing dissidents. Yes. Yes, which was also a conspiracy theory that came out to be a conspiracy fact, was when Winston Churchill threw over 1,000 political dissidents into prison before World War II, so he could get into war. That big fat warmongering prick.
Hey, he's a great man. Hey, he's a great man.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant, amazing guy. He didn't owe gambling debts or anything. He was just a
where's RHS? Where's RHS?
Yeah. So where's RHS? Yeah. So Dagbreker says yes, they just had to rest it out. I tried to see if one should get sunlight exposure to up their vitamin D, but it made them more nauseous. Wow. So I renamed them to Nosferatu. Classic. Brilliant. So Rian says the masks are basically an IQ test and most people are failing. Classic Rehan comments over here. So last comment over here, they're testing how far you're willing to obey arbitrary measures without questioning them, even in the absence of evidence. Yes, that's exactly the idea behind the masks. It's exactly that. Anyway, do you have anything to say in closing, Russell?
No, look, I think we are moving into the stage generally in the future. This pandemic has put major issues to the front with regards to trusting the authorities. Trust in governments and institutions and authoritative figures has taken a major hit over the last year or so with this whole pandemic, and it's going to be interesting in the future how seriously people take authorities in future. That's what I'll have to say.
Yeah, I think they might have. Well, I guess it's me being slightly optimistic. I think they might have flipped the switch a little bit too soon, and I think that public opinion and stuff could wane more on the side of anti-government. But I know Rihan would disagree with that, but who cares what Rihan thinks anyway? No one even knows who he is. So anyway, anyway, thank you so much for listening, folks. Remember, we will be back in action very, very soon. I'm just sort of enjoying a bit of downtime with the family. And we will be back in action in the next sort of week or so, week or two maybe. We will do a stream next week as well sometime. But remember to stay reactionary out there, because
God wills it.
wills it.
God wills it. Good night.